What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the name Timemore? And if it's hand grinders, you and I are on the same page. But now they've got their sights set on the electric market with this, the SCULPTOR. This unique looking grinder comes in 4 trim levels, and this is the 064S. And much like many of the grinders making the rounds these days, it's a single dose all around coffee grinder, spinning a pair of 64mm flat burrs. But based on its spec sheet, which boasts some serious features and performance that aren't common in grinders in its price range, it seems poised to make a bit of an entrance. Of course, as always, in the spirit of full disclosure, Timemore sent me the 064S after agreeing to my review requirements of no control over the draft or the contents of this video. Also, I should let you know that this grinder is a pre-production beta version of the SCULPTOR, and Timemore has assured me that all the internals and performance will remain the same, but there could be some small visual tweaks in the final product. But before we get into the nitty-gritty on the Timemore SCULPTOR, a quick word from this video's sponsor, Cometeer Coffee. These unassuming, fully recyclable capsules are chock full of coffee goodness. As a barista and just general all-around coffee lover, Cometeer is my go-to for those lazy or busy mornings when I just want a simply good cup of coffee without the whole production. Cometeer takes care of the hard part for you, brewing each coffee at its peak flavor and flash frozen to seal it in. And with spring here and summer not too far behind it, I'm loving it poured over ice water, creating a no-fuss and tasty iced coffee in seconds. Honestly, the most difficult part about Cometeer is choosing which coffee you're going to make, because each order comes with a variety of options, from single origins, blends, or decaf, and now if you have a favorite, you can choose a roaster-specific box. So for a limited time, you can get $20 off each of your first 2 orders. That's a total of $40 when you use my code TheSprometheus at Cometeer.com. Since I first tried Cometeer a couple years ago, it's been a staple in my freezer, so if you haven't tried it yet, now's a great time. As I mentioned in the intro, the 064S has a serious spec sheet, so let's highlight the features that Timemore stuffed into this compact piece of coffee gear. Starting on the outside, its body is almost entirely made of metal, giving it a decently stable platform on top of a premium feel and matte finish. Much like many current grinders, Timemore also utilized magnets for its dosing cup and hopper, which allow for a quick and accurate assembly and can definitely add to a smoother, cleaner workflow. And speaking of keeping things cleaner, they've also added a feature that's looking to end the days of tapping, rocking, or bellowing. The SCULPTOR has a new rotary knocker that builds and releases a snap of internal tension inside the chute, which does a pretty good job at breaking free retained grinds. On the inside, the 064S utilizes a Timemore and Grinding Lab design set of 64mm flat burrs, aimed at producing quality grinds across a wide variety of brewing formats, from espresso to French press. Those burrs are then powered by a sensory brushless motor, which compared to the more common and less expensive brush motors, creates no friction, which not only increases the overall lifespan, but reduces operating noise. And on top of that, the motor also gives you control of the RPM from 800 to 1200, which allows the end user to explore a whole new brewing variable that's currently only available in a handful of grinders, most of which are far more expensive than the SCULPTOR. Of course, on paper, or in this case on video, when you list out all those features just one after the other, everything sounds pretty good. But let's get more of a grasp on how the SCULPTOR actually performs in the real world. And I think the best place to start is with the heart of the grinder, the burrs. As I mentioned earlier, the 64mm set inside the 064S is a collaboration with Timemore and Grinding Lab, and they feature a relatively familiar cutting geometry. They also provide a good level of grind uniformity, on top of their overall texture with minimal clumping even on finer settings. And when these grinds finally meet water, some great things happen. When it comes to filter coffee, the cups produced had a nice amount of clarity, giving me those bright fruity flavors I want from my hand brews, all while still providing a good balance. But what I truly found impressive was how these same burrs translated into espresso. In my opinion, they're some of the best classic espresso flats I've used in a while, giving you the kind of balance and luxurious mouthfeel I often only found in cast burrs, but without completely burying the coffee's nuanced notes. Adding to its capability, its use of stepless grind adjustments and RPM control gives you the freedom of making micro tweaks for a no-compromise dial-in. And on top of all of this, it was producing extractions well into and above the 20% range straight out of the box. And lastly, a few talking points worth mentioning in the overall topic of usability and performance. Regardless of what you're grinding for, I also found the 064S to be very low retention only using the knocker, with a max of 0.2 grams without RDT and less than 0.1 grams with it. The grinder itself is also very quiet, with the motor alone, regardless of its speed setting, producing less than 60 decibels. And when grinding, around the mid-70s. And finally, a quick mention that I'm sure folks are curious about regarding burr swaps. Even though Timemore doesn't seem all that keen on you opening it up, their choice of a 64mm burr and the wide array of options out there in that diameter make it impossible not to want to dig into it. So yes, the SSPs will fit. Even though the 064S operates and performs well, no product is perfect, and there are a few things I ran into over my day-to-day use. For instance, the hopper design has a couple small annoyances. After about 1 in every 5 batches, I found a few beans that were caught in the hopper behind the anti-popcorning lid. This issue increased to nearly every dose with the use of RDT, as many beans will fail to slide into the burrs due to the moisture and the only slightly angled hopper floor. Also, the dosing cup. For one, it's got quite a bit of static. The exterior does have a nice finish, but the interior is bare metal. If it were polished, I think it would work a little cleaner. I also think it would have been ideal for them to produce a cup that's portafilter friendly, as it does increase the chance of making a mess and slows the workflow. And lastly, the inconvenience of cleaning. The grinder does come with a brush and a blower, but no tool, so they aren't all that useful without actually opening it up. Now, it's not all that difficult to get apart or put back together. It just uses a lot of small screws that take some time to remove and could easily be lost. I mean, I understand them wanting to maybe deter or make it less appealing for people to open up and modify the grinder, but I still think that deep cleaning should be a priority. Honestly, if I were to sit down and make a list of everything I want from a grinder, the SCULPTOR would check a lot of boxes. Single dose, low retention, stepless adjustments, quiet operation, burr options, the list goes on, but the closest comparison I can think of in the market right now is the Lagome P64, which retails for roughly $2,000, but you can snag the 064S for $300 on their current Kickstarter, but even for $450 retail, it's a bargain. But all things considered, with long-term reliability being the only unknown, I feel like the 064S is the best bang for your buck grinder out there right now. This is just one man's take on the 064S, and honestly, they don't need my help to get this thing off the ground. They've already surpassed $2 million in funding prior to me saying a single word. And on that bombshell, I think it's time I wrap this one up and pass the conversation on to you. What are your thoughts on the SCULPTOR? What are your thoughts on coffee Kickstarters? They seem to be a pretty common occurrence these days. Drop your answers to those questions and any others you may have in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see y'all next week. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that little bell button for notifications of new videos posted every Friday. Check out my Instagram at Sprometheus for content throughout the week, my blog at Sprometheus.com, and as always, stay caffeinated. Ponyboy